I sit in my parents' living room, perched uneasily on the edge of the floral armchair that has occupied the same corner for more than 20 years. The upholstery is faded now, the roses dulled by decades of use, but the grooves in the cushions still remember the shape of bodies long gone from childhood holidays. Through the wide windows, Christmas lights twinkle against the glass, their reflections merging with the framed family photographs arranged neatly along the mahogany shelves. Vacations, graduations, birthdays, anniversaries, milestones all captured in glossy permanence. I am in nearly every picture, yet when my eyes linger on them, my smile always looks strained, never quite anchored to the warmth of the moment. The fireplace crackles, logs snapping with little bursts of fire, sending waves of heat across the room. But the warmth does not reach me. Instead, a slow, familiar cold blooms in my chest, hollow and unrelenting. The shrill sound of Lucy's squeal slices through the air. She is kneeling on the rug, tearing into a small box wrapped in gold foil paper. Mom. Dad. This is exactly what I wanted. Oh my God, you shouldn't have. Her hands lift a cream-colored Gucci Marmont bag into the light, her fingers caressing the leather as though it were fragile, sacred. She cradles it like a newborn child, her glossy eyes wide with delight. The gleaming logo glitters beneath the Christmas lights, throwing flecks of gold across the walls. 26 years old, yet her excitement, her dependency, radiates like someone much younger. Mom beams with pride, her face glowing. Only the best for our baby girl, she says, her voice almost reverent. Dad leans back in his leather armchair, nodding, satisfied. You deserve it, princess. The room feels sealed off, insulated by their adoration for Lucy. My own hands, steady but rehearsed, work carefully at the wrapping paper of my gift. A small envelope sealed with a snowflake sticker rests in my palm. I don't tremble. I have practiced this moment. I know how to keep my face still. Inside the envelope lies a $2 paper card printed with a winter scene, snow-capped mountains and a generic message. Season's greetings. No personal note, no gift card tucked inside, no check. Just the hollow echo of obligation disguised as tradition. My expression doesn't falter, but something deep inside me fractures. 29 years of hope splinter all at once. Across the room, Aunt Margaret's eyes meet mine. Her lips part slightly, and for a moment horror flashes across her face before she hides it. She knows. He has always known. Dad checks his watch, adjusting the band, restless. Traffic will be bad if we don't leave for the restaurant by 7, he mutters. Mom busies herself at the bar cart, pouring eggnog, avoiding my gaze with the practiced evasiveness of someone who has mastered denial. Look how the leather shines in this light. Lucy chirps, holding the Gucci bag against her chest, twirling slightly for effect. It will go with everything I own. My hands betray me then. The faintest tremor slips through my fingers as I fold the card in half and slide it into my pocket. It feels less like a gift and more like a token, proof of erasure, a souvenir of invisibility. Earlier today I had been in my small Portland apartment, wrapping gifts with aching care. My teacher's salary, $57,000 a year, was already stretched thin between rent, student loan payments and groceries. Still, I had planned for months, saving carefully because I wanted this Christmas to mean something. For Mom, an Italian silk scarf, $180, patterned in shades of blue she loves. I wrapped it in silver paper, tying the ribbon 3 separate times until the bow sat perfectly. She'll adore this, I whispered, smoothing the creases with my palm. For Dad, a Parker pen, $145 engraved with his initials. He had mentioned only weeks earlier that he needed a new one for client meetings. I tucked it into a velvet box, imagining the moment he'd recognize my thoughtfulness. For Lucy, a rare art book, $120, carefully chosen because of an exhibit we once promised to see together. I even wrote her a handwritten note, a sister promise, captured in ink, hoping, always hoping, that she might finally see me as more than an accessory in her life. Maybe this year will be different, I had told my reflection, applying mascara carefully in the bathroom mirror. That stubborn weed called hope still bloomed inside me, even after decades of frost. Now sitting here watching Lucy parade with her designer bag while Dad pours bourbon and Mom arranges cookies, I feel the earthquake in my chest intensify. I think I need some fresh air, I say evenly. My voice doesn't crack, though my heart does. No one looks up except Aunt Margaret. She moves quietly toward me, pressing her hand against my shoulder. Her touch is firm, steady like Morse code. I see you. I understand. You're not wrong, she whispers. You deserve so much more. My throat tightens. I nod once. Then I retrieve my wool coat from the closet. The fabric scratches against my wrists as I button it methodically from the bottom to the top. No one notices as I open the front door. No one pauses their laughter or their clinking glasses. The silence that follows me down the porch steps feels louder than anything inside. I cross the icy walkway to my car, snow dusting its windshield like powdered sugar. The drive to Council Crest Park takes 12 minutes. I park at the overlook, Portland's city lights spilling across the valley like a constellation collapsed to earth. The world hums with Christmas Eve rhythm, dinners, music, laughter, oblivious to my solitary vigil in a parked car. When did I become invisible to them? I whisper to the fogging windshield. I pull the card from my pocket. It isn't just paper. It is a monument, a relic of nearly 3 decades of dismissal. 29 years of begging silently for equal love, compressed into a cheap rectangle of cardboard. Tears blur my vision. They stream hot down my cheeks, colliding with the cold night air. The lights of Portland dissolve into watercolors, smeared yellows, oranges, and blues against the night sky. For the first time, I stop asking if things will change. I accept that they won't. How many others, I wonder, sit alone tonight holding proof of their family's failure to see them? How many of us keep trying to bloom in gardens that will never water us? A month passes. My phone barely rings. My parents call only occasionally, voices clipped and transactional. But Aunt Margaret, she calls often, her check-ins stitched with warmth I cling to. One Tuesday evening after school, I sit cross-legged on the living room floor, photo albums spread around me like sacred texts. Outside, January sunlight filters weakly through Portland's thick cloud cover, casting gray stripes across the carpet. 1 month since Christmas. 1 month since the $2 card. I run my fingers across a photo from my 13th birthday. Cora Turner, archaeological dig, I murmur to myself. In the photo, I sit before a supermarket sheet cake, frosting drooping under kitchen lights. My smile looks rehearsed, as though someone reminded me to look happy, seconds before the shutter clicked. Beside it, another photo, Lucy's Sweet 16 at the Benson Hotel. Crystal chandeliers glow above a 3-tier cake, pristine and extravagant. Dad's arm drapes across her shoulders as Mom clasps a pearl necklace around her throat. Lucy beams, radiant, enveloped by their pride. I study the contrast and realize something I had never admitted aloud. I have been documenting my own erasure for years. Acceptance letters preserved in plastic sleeves. Mine to Portland State, earned through a full academic scholarship. The note from my parents attached with a paperclip. You'll need to work part-time for expenses. Lucy's acceptance to fashion school, tuition astronomical, accompanied by their handwritten note. We're so proud. Don't worry about a thing except your studies. My fingers tremble as I flip to graduation. My parents arrived 20 minutes before the ceremony ended, Dad checking his watch the entire time. Sorry we're late, honey, they had said, barely glancing at the stage. Lucy's preliminary fashion show ran long. Mom smoothed my collar, left a lipstick mark on my cheek, and immediately asked, So when do you start job hunting? Artifacts. Evidence of imbalance. A museum of my invisibility. I pull open my desk drawer and remove a leather-bound ledger, flipping through its worn pages. Neat columns of numbers detail years of self-reliance. Student loan statements totaling $24,800 despite working 20-hour weeks at the campus bookstore for $12 an hour. Beside them, an email from Dad. Sorry we can't help with your apartment security deposit right now. Next to it, a newspaper clipping. Lucy's fashion program in Milan, tuition $38,000 per year plus $20,000 for her essential international study. I close my eyes, ledger heavy in my lap, and breathe slowly. The evidence surrounds me. My history is not imagined. It is documented. It is real. And for the first time I feel less like I'm going crazy, and more like I'm finally waking up. The numbers glare at me like unforgiving neon lights. My rent statement. $1,200 a month for a drafty 1-bedroom where the heater works only half the time. Lucy's Instagram post flashes in my feed, showing off her sleek new downtown apartment. Rent, $2,800. Family funded. Smiles all around. My phone buzzes. I let it go. Instead, I sift through a stack of old birthday cards. Mom's looping handwriting trails across the envelopes year after year. I open my journal, slide the newest card inside, and write in bold strokes. The last time I'll beg for love. Another buzz. The family group chat. I mute it. Done. A message from Mom follows. Dinner Sunday, your dad's grilling steaks. I type back simply. Sorry, I have plans. No excuse. No reschedule. Lucy's name lights up next. Cora, can you help me move into my new place? Mom and Dad are tied up with finances. My thumb hovers. The old Cora would have canceled her weekend, shown up with coffee and donuts, spent hours building IKEA furniture while Lucy gave instructions from the couch. I send, good luck with the move. 3 dots flicker, vanish, return. Finally, what's wrong with you lately? I inhale and reply with the clearest words I've ever written. I need some space from family gatherings. The reply comes instantly. Mom's going to be upset. I set the phone down. For once, that's not my burden. In the bathroom mirror, my reflection stares back. Same hazel eyes, same straight nose, same face that's carried 29 years of trying to catch up. When does hope turn into self-destruction? I whisper to the glass. Back in my journal, another question flows. What would I tell my students if this were their story? The answer is sharp and certain. You deserve respect. Love shouldn't demand endless proof of your worth. Sometimes the family you're born into can't recognize your value. I box up the photo albums and the rent comparisons, stacking them neatly. Not to erase, but to keep as proof. To remind myself this pattern is real. This isn't exaggeration. 6 weeks later, I'm in a new job and my focus is fully on me. Saturday mornings, I sit at the pottery wheel. Clay cool against my palms, spinning, shaping, something whole emerging out of raw earth. The $250 class fee is pinned to my kitchen calendar beneath a magnet that reads, Invest in yourself. You've got a natural feel for this, Miranda, the instructor, says, brushing a silver strand of hair from her face. Most people fight the clay. You're learning to work with it. I smile. The metaphor doesn't escape me. For years I fought against how my family saw me. Now I'm molding something new with what I have. Thank you, I murmur, guiding the lip of the bowl. I'm practicing patience, with clay and with myself. Dr. Williams' voice from yesterday's session echoes. Your worth isn't measured by their recognition. $90 a week, once wasted on gifts no one valued, now funding my own restoration. Last night I removed the final family photo from my living room wall. In its place hang 3 prints I chose myself. Solitary trees standing proud against storm clouds. My shelves too have shifted, filled now with books I wanted, not the dusty classics my father claimed were markers of culture. My phone rings. Mom. Her voice lilts with expectation. Cora dear, maybe you could host Easter this year? Lucy's overwhelmed with her project, and it'd be a chance to show everyone your cooking skills. 3 months ago, I'd have jumped at the chance, frantic to earn their approval with perfect dishes and spotless floors. This time I wipe clay from my hands and type. I won't be hosting this year. I already have plans. No excuses. No apologies. Just a line in the sand. Beautiful work, Miranda nods. You're centered. I am. In more ways than one. Monday morning brings surprise affirmation. Principal Harrington hands me my teacher evaluation with a rare smile. Outstanding work, Cora. Your students' engagement has been remarkable. I scan the comments and one glows on the page. Ms. Turner's assignment, writing our life story from a new perspective, made me realize I could see myself as the hero, not the victim. The words settle warm in my chest. After all those years of feeling unseen, here I am helping others see themselves. We'd also like you to lead the summer writing program, Harrington adds. It comes with a stipend. Your independence is exactly what we need. The word no longer stings. Carries weight now, respect instead of dismissal. I'd be honored, I say, sitting straighter. That afternoon an email pings. An invitation to present at a regional education conference. My finger hovers on delete, instinct whispering it must be a mistake. Then I recall Dr. Williams' reminder. Assume you deserve good things until proven otherwise. I click accept. Later that evening, I open my banking app and slide $500 into the account labeled home down payment. It's the very first deposit, the first brick in the foundation of a future that belongs entirely to me. Not a borrowed corner, not a temporary room in someone else's house, but a place that holds my name and my presence fully. My own. The phone rings just as the digital confirmation flashes across my screen. Midnight. I frown at the timing. Lucy's name glows, and before I can even say hello, her sobs break through the speaker. "He left me, Cora," she chokes, voice ragged. "I can't believe it. Derek just walked out just like that, after dinner. I don't know what to do. I need you. Please come over. I can't be alone right now." The old Cora, the one trained for years to be the family's fixer, the dutiful shadow, would have leapt out of bed, pulled on whatever clothes she could grab, and driven across town in the middle of the night. Speeding through red lights, hands clenched on the steering wheel, desperate to be the savior once again. But the woman I'm becoming pauses, breathes, feels the weight of her own needs. "I'm so sorry that happened, Lucy," I say softly but firmly. "I can talk with you tomorrow, during my lunch break." There's a stunned silence. Then an incredulous bark of disbelief. "What? Oh, I need you now. This is serious." "I know you're hurting," I reply, holding the line steady. "And I'm here for you. But I'm available tomorrow at noon. My time matters too." Another silence. This one stretches like an unfamiliar road neither of us has traveled. I almost hear her recalculating. Finally, her voice shrinks, uncertain. I guess I could wait until tomorrow," she whispers. Then softer still, words I've never heard from her lips. "I'm sorry, Cora. I didn't think about what time it is." When the call ends, I lie awake in the dark, waiting for the inevitable backlash. Mom's angry voice, accusing me of selfishness. The call comes as expected at 1:17 a.m. Her voicemail unspools familiar lines about neglect, ungratefulness, betrayal. I don't bother finishing it. Delete. The weeks that follow surprise me with a different kind of expansion. My circle grows, gently, like ripples spreading outward across still water. Robert, the history teacher whose classroom sits across from mine, lingers at my desk one afternoon after dismissal. He fiddles nervously with a paperclip, words tumbling out. "Would you, maybe, like to have dinner Friday?" Nothing formal, just, as friends. "I've always admired your work with students." The awkwardness is endearing. The invitation genuine. I find myself smiling. Aunt Margaret visits that same weekend, arriving with her gentle warmth and a large, carefully folded quilt in her arms. She spreads it across my bed with reverent hands, smoothing each crease as if the fabric were alive. "She always saw your light," Margaret says, her voice carrying both pride and sorrow. "Your grandmother. Even when others didn't. She wanted you to have this quilt because she knew you'd understand its story. The faded fabric holds more comfort than all my mother's pristine table linens ever did." At the pottery studio, classmates invite me to join them on a hiking trip to Mount Hood. I say yes without hesitation. My therapist notices the shift before I do. "Your posture has changed," Dr. Williams observes one Thursday. "You're opening, like a flower turning toward the sun." And she's right. At a staff meeting, the athletic director dismisses my suggestion about blending creative writing into physical education with a flippant wave. Before I can even muster a defense, Sandra, my colleague, speaks up. "Cora has been advocating for this for years," she says, steady and sharp. The research backs her. Her approach deserves respect. For the first time, someone in my professional circle defends me without hesitation. The affirmation feels like oxygen. The family group chat dings with cousin Caleb's wedding announcement. Everyone's responses are quick, cheerful, unquestioning. "Can't wait. So excited. We'll be there." I type my own reply, calm and unadorned. "I'll attend, but I'll drive separately." Within minutes, my phone buzzes with Mom's private text. "Why are you being difficult?" I sit with the words for a while, resisting the old reflex to justify, to grovel. Then I type back. "Setting healthy boundaries isn't being difficult." Later, in my calendar, I write with deliberate precision. "Wedding. 2 hours maximum. Bring Robert." Because by then Robert and I are no longer just friends. My balcony garden thrives. Herbs spilling green, wildflowers pushing stubbornly toward the sun. In the evenings, I sit outside with my journal, bees humming between blossoms. My pages hold fewer questions now, more declarations. Growth requires both distance and nourishment. My fingers, faintly stained with clay, trace the words. The thought rises unbidden. What seeds of self-respect are you ready to plant in your own life? The answer unfurls within me, sturdy as roots. 3 months later, the wedding arrives. I step out of Robert's car, smoothing the sage-green silk of my dress. It falls just below my knees. Simple, elegant, the product of 3 months of careful budgeting. Robert glances at me, his voice low and sure. You look beautiful. His hand settles at the small of my back. The country club stretches out before us, manicured lawns rolling toward the distant ridges of Mount Hood. Picturesque. Expensive. I can't help but wonder how Uncle George, with his modest hardware store, managed this venue. Ready? Robert asks. This time the answer is real. Yes. 6 months of therapy. 6 months of boundaries. 6 months of choosing myself. The armor is invisible but strong. Lucy spots me first, sequined cocktail dress sparkling far too brightly for a garden ceremony. She waves frantically, mascara thick, perfume trailing as she air kisses my cheek. Cora, you actually came. And you brought someone. Robert Thompson, he says, shaking her hand. Cora's colleague. And more, I add firmly, refusing to let the truth shrink. We've been dating for 3 months. Lucy's brows arch. Mom didn't mention that. Mom doesn't know everything about my life anymore. Her mouth parts, but before she can reply, Mom appears. Her smile stretches thin, elastic, nearly snapping. Her hug is mechanical. Cora, darling. Your apartment must be getting cramped with company these days. Have you thought about upgrading? The old sting flares, but I breathe through it. My apartment suits me perfectly. Dad joins, his suit looser than I remember, collar tugged. There's my independent girl, he says, patting my shoulder. Your place must be too small now, right? Same script. Same dismissal. Same Turner performance. I simply smile. Aunt Margaret swoops in, saving me once more. Her hug is real, her voice low. Look at you standing tall. Then a conspiratorial glance over her shoulder. Your parents are struggling. Thomas's investments collapsed. The ceremony blurs past, vows drifting like wind. At the reception, details sharpen into clarity. Dad arguing with the photographer about payment terms. Mom clutching a worn leather purse. Not Prada but something weathered and practical. Lucy's face tightening when the bartender shakes his head at her declined card. I slip into the garden, roses heavy with scent. I count backward from 10, Dr. Williams' technique grounding me. Running away again? Lucy's voice. She steps from the shadows, her mascara smudged. Not running, I correct gently. Taking a moment. There's a difference. She exhales, sinking gracelessly onto a stone bench. You're different now. Yes, I answer, my voice steady. I realized how unfair everything was. The words spill raw and unpolished. Lucy stares at the ground. Then, quiet as a confession, I'm sorry, Cora. I don't rush to fill the silence. I've learned that apologies need space to grow roots, or die out. They can't support me anymore, she confesses, her voice catching in her throat like a broken string. Dad's business is unraveling. Contracts cancelled, phones going unanswered, reputation sinking by the week. The condo's already listed. The realtor's sign planted like a gravestone in the manicured lawn. My credit cards are strangled at their limits. I sit beside her on the wrought iron bench, keeping a careful few inches between us. The hydrangeas around the garden are heavy with late summer bloom, their pastel colors dimming in the amber light of the sunset. That sounds difficult, I say at last, the words measured, restrained. Lucy presses her sequined clutch tighter to her chest. The sequins catch the fading sunlight, sparking like tiny flames licking across her dress. A tear carves through her carefully applied foundation. I never learned to stand on my own the way you did, Cora. I don't know how to live on what I actually earn. The garden is hushed except for the cicadas. For the first time since childhood, silence stretches between us without hostility. A quiet not of accusation but of shared acknowledgement. Back inside, the noise returns like a tide. Music, chatter, the clink of glasses. Dad corners me near the cake table where buttercream roses gleam under chandelier light. His tone is different than usual, hesitant, unsteady. You've always been good with finances, he begins, adjusting his cufflinks though they don't need it. Teachers have excellent retirement planning skills, don't they? I take a sip of champagne and wait, giving him nothing. We might need some advice. Family helping family, you know. Before I can shape a response, relatives converge. Cora. Heard you got department head, Uncle George bellows, his voice full of the easy pride reserved for successes that cost him nothing. Always knew you'd make something of yourself. Mom slips in, materializing at my elbow like smoke. Cora was always our practical one, she says quickly, her fingers twisting and untwisting her wedding band. So responsible. Across the room, Robert is deep in conversation with Lucy's sister-in-law, gesturing warmly. I catch a snippet. She's the most respected teacher at her school. And pride warms his tone. Lucy approaches again, but subdued this time. Her sequins no longer blaze. Under the ballroom lights they look duller. Do you know of affordable apartments in Portland? She asks quietly. Maybe with roommates? The irony is sharp and bitter in my chest. Years of invisibility, of being the afterthought, and suddenly everyone sees me. Not for who I am but for what I might give. Later, when Dad mentions temporary family assistance, I don't flinch. I'm not in a position to help financially, I say, my voice direct, stripped of apology. My budget is balanced around my own life, my own needs. To Lucy I offer what she truly needs. Start with a budget. And roommates. That's how I survived my first 3 years teaching. Her eyes widen a little, perhaps in surprise that I offer her anything at all. 2 roommates, I add more firmly this time. Mom tries her old tactic, the one she knows by heart. Guilt, her specialty. We always supported you, Cora. I turn my head toward her, my voice steady. Emotionally or financially? The silence that follows is its own answer. At 9, I find Robert waiting by the bar, his hand resting on an untouched glass. Ready to leave? I ask. The relief in his expression mirrors my own. Whenever you are. We slip away unnoticed during the bouquet toss, shoes in hand, and drive toward Cannon Beach. The ocean greets us with salt and freedom. We walk barefoot on the damp shoreline, the moon rising and laying silver across the Pacific. You handled that beautifully, Robert murmurs. I watch the waves roll in, crash, retreat. Sometimes the greatest gift is just seeing clearly. The ocean doesn't answer, but for once I don't need it to. A week later I arrive at my parents' house at exactly 6. 2 hours. That's all I've allotted for this meeting. My watch timer is already set. My Honda looks out of place beside Dad's Lexus, which now shows rust blossoming around the wheel wells like some creeping illness. The front porch light flickers weakly. No wreath decorates the door, though it's June, but the heaviness of expectation is decoration enough. I knock instead of using my key. Mom answers, her smile too bright, her hug too tight. Cora, you look wonderful. That promotion really suits you. Inside, the changes are obvious. The Italian leather sectional is gone, replaced with a beige sofa that looks rented, impersonal. The glittering crystal vase has vanished from the coffee table. The room feels stripped not only of furniture but of pretense. Dad stands as I enter, his shoulders bent in a way I've never seen. Punctual as always, Cora. I have a staff meeting tomorrow morning, I explain. I can stay until 8. Lucy sits in the corner, twisting her fingers together, offering me a small wave. She looks like a ghost of herself. No sequins tonight, just pale anxiety. Mom bustles in with a tray of coffee and lemon cookies. Your favorite. Family needs to stick together, especially now. Dad doesn't waste time. He paces before the fireplace, where no fire burns though the air is damp with chill. The Turner name has always meant something in this town, he begins, voice striving for its old authority. But the market downturn has been devastating. The firm lost clients. Our portfolio is gutted. Mom's voice drops low. The bank has been calling. About the mortgage. Dad clears his throat. And Lucy's lease renewal is coming up. Her complex raised rates again. Mom leans closer, squeezing my hand. We heard about your promotion, Cora. The raise must have been substantial. The pieces fall together as neatly as a puzzle I've solved too many times before. I set my coffee down. You're wondering if I can cover Lucy's expenses. Temporarily, Dad says quickly, stretching the word thin, just until things stabilize. You've always been our rock, Mom adds, her smile trembling. The silence that follows is long, thick, unbearable. Lucy stares at her manicure, shame creeping into her cheeks. I reach into my purse and pull out a Christmas card. Its edges are worn from months of carrying it. I place it gently on the table. This, I say, was when I finally understood. Dad waves it off. A Christmas card? Really, Cora, we're discussing serious financial matters. This isn't about money. I trace the printed mountain scene with my finger. It's about 29 years of messages. Messages that I mattered less. I look up at them, my voice steady. Lucy's sweet 16 at the Benson Hotel. My 13th birthday, celebrated with a grocery store cake. My college scholarship and your note that I should work part-time. While Lucy's fashion school, her semester in Italy, was fully funded. Mom's face drains of color, like paint washed away by sudden rain. We never meant, she starts, her voice trembling. I don't believe you did it consciously, I cut in gently, though my words carry weight. But it happened. Consistently. Every birthday. Every Christmas. Every milestone. That's ridiculous. Dad's face flushes, the red of anger climbing his neck. We gave you everything you needed. But never what she wanted, Lucy says suddenly, her voice breaking the room open like a bell tolling in silence. All eyes swing toward her. She sits straighter, her hands no longer fidgeting, her gaze unflinching. She's right. We always treated her as less important. I saw it every year. And I benefited from it. Dad's mouth opens then closes. His jaw works but no words come. The Turner mythology, our family's shining narrative of fairness, success and togetherness, cracks audibly in the silence. This isn't about punishing anyone, I say, my voice steady though my chest feels like a storm. But if we want any relationship moving forward, it has to start with respect and equality. So you won't help your sister? Mom's tears spill now, but this time they feel genuine, not weaponized. Her sobs carry no manipulation, only raw desperation. I'm not saying that, I reply firmly. I'm saying I will not be the family's financial solution while the same patterns continue. I won't fund Lucy's luxury apartment while I've scraped to afford my own. I won't feed into a cycle where I give everything and receive nothing. After all we've done for you? Dad's voice rises, sharp and scalding, revealing the expectation behind every gesture, every gift. I hold his gaze. I'm offering something better than money. I'm offering honesty. I'm offering the possibility of a relationship built on mutual respect, not obligation. She doesn't owe us, Lucy says quietly, but clearly enough that the words land like stones. None of this is her responsibility. The silence that follows is thick, but it is honest, the first such silence we've shared in decades. I stand, smoothing the hem of my skirt, grounding myself. I need acknowledgement of what's happened. I need my boundaries respected. I am willing to help Lucy find an affordable apartment, create a budget, apply for jobs. But I won't sacrifice my own financial security or my self-respect. Mom crumples into sobs, her shoulders shaking. Dad stares rigidly out the window, pride like armor he refuses to remove. Think about what I've said. I pick up my purse. I'll let myself out. The night air is sharp and cleansing as I step onto the porch. Stars prick the velvet sky, silent witnesses to truths long overdue. Starting my car, I realize that truth doesn't need to be cruel to be powerful. It only needs to be spoken. 1 year later. The key slides into the lock of my Portland condo with a satisfying click, a sound that still feels new, miraculous. Last box, Robert announces, carrying in a cardboard container marked books. He sets it down on the bamboo floor I carefully chose myself, every plank a decision rooted in independence. His steady presence has become something I never thought I'd have, not rescue but partnership. I run my fingers over the framed house key mounted on the wall. Beneath it, a small plaque reads, $18,000. The price of freedom. Each dollar saved through overtime, side projects and countless refusals to play the family's fixer. Department head suits you, Aunt Margaret remarks warmly as she places wildflowers into a ceramic vase I shaped in pottery class. Her hand rests on my shoulder, her eyes soft with real pride. You built this life brick by brick, Cora. The afternoon sun spills through the windows I spent weeks choosing, laying golden patterns across the dining table set for 4. Not a banquet, not a performance, just an intentional gathering. Robert, Aunt Margaret, and Lucy. My guest list, my terms, my boundaries intact. This morning, Dad's text appeared on my phone. Hope the move went well. 5 words, heavy with his struggle to find a place in our new reality. Mom calls weekly now, her voice cautious but increasingly sincere. The walls of denial have thinned, even if they haven't fully crumbled. Lucy arrives with a houseplant cradled in one arm and a bottle of mid-priced wine in the other. Gone are the designer bags and glittering dresses. She wears sensible slacks and a cardigan. The apartment search is going well, she says as we arrange plates. My roommate works in accounting. She's been teaching me about budgeting. There's humility in her tone now, humility that feels earned. Sometimes it startles me, this new Lucy who no longer assumes the world will bend. Later, as Robert helps me hang curtains in the bedroom, the drill steady in his hands, he asks, "Have you thought about next summer? That cabin on Mount Hood is still available for rent." I smile, no longer afraid of imagining a future. I'd like that. When the evening winds down and the apartment falls quiet, I frame the old Christmas card, the $2 spark that lit this transformation, and set it on my desk. Once it symbolized invisibility. Now it is a monument to strength discovered through pain. I open my journal, the blank page glowing under lamplight, and write, "Worth is inherent. Not earned. Not granted. Not taken away." Yesterday at school, a young teacher sought me out, tears streaking her face after a family gathering where her achievements had been dismissed. I saw my younger self in her. I handed her tissues and said, "Your boundaries aren't selfish." Words I once needed desperately to hear. My savings account grows steadily, labeled future dreams instead of emergency fund. The local pottery studio called yesterday asking to display my pieces. From my balcony, I watch the Portland sky bloom into watercolor hues, the city alive beneath it. A year ago I sat in my car crushed by a meaningless card. Tonight I stand surrounded by a home, a life, a future built with intention. The gift, I whisper into the night air, was finding myself. I close the journal, no longer needing validation to confirm my worth. Turning off the porch light, I walk into rooms filled not with extravagance, but with self-respect. Because love that must be earned was never love at all.